Hello, good afternoon. This is Brian Begley from nCloud9. We're here today for our webinar on Don't Be Afraid of the Unified Interface. Before we get started, I want to talk a little bit about nCloud9 and who we are, and it'll take all of about 1 minute here. nCloud9, we are a Dynamics 365 Cloud Customer Relationship Management Partner. We've been that for 5 years. We have 15 years experience working with small to mid-sized businesses all throughout the United States and Canada. All we work with is Microsoft Dynamics 365. That's all we do. We're experts at it. We deal with all parts of the customer experience platform, which is Dynamics 365 sales, customer service, marketing with ClickDimensions, field service, and project management. We have a company that we also work with called Dynamics 365 Support. It's a division of nCloud9, and what we do with Dynamics 365 Support is we provide low-cost, fixed-fee support services for Dynamics 365 Power Apps and Flow. So if you're looking for a company that can provide a monthly support contract for your Dynamics 365 system, feel free to visit our website at dynamics365support.com or get a hold of me. Once again, I'm Brian Begley with nCloud9. And so with that, we're going to get started. Can everybody hear me well? Great. Okay, so we're going to get started here. Next slide. We're talking about the unified interface, and the Dynamics 365 unified interface was released starting about 2 years ago. But just this past September, Microsoft finally announced that it is time for users to begin seriously making the change to the unified interface, and has set a deadline of October. We'll talk about a little bit more of that in the future as we go forward in this. But the unified interface was Microsoft's effort to create a single user interface that works across all applications that use Dynamics 365. So when you use Dynamics 365 and you use the unified interface, if you're using it on your computer screen, your tablet, your iPhone or Android phone, or even in the Outlook client, it has the same experience. The forms look the same, the views look the same, the dashboards and charts all look the same. They automatically reformat themselves for whatever user interface you're using. So with that consistent user interface, that drives better usage because I have a mobile app that works the same as my desktop app. So when I'm using CRM, I only need to learn one user interface. Previously, with Dynamics 365 and some of the older versions, the mobile app had a very different way of working than the desktop app. And so always getting users to move to the mobile app or to start using it was always a bit of a challenge for us. So going through here, we talked a couple minutes ago about switching to the unified interface. And back in September, Microsoft made an announcement on their website that says, as of October 2020, the current legacy web client will be deprecated, meaning it's no longer going to be available. So customers who are using the classic web interface need to begin transitioning at some point prior to that. Now we provided a URL so you can read this blog entry, and we'll be sending this out to all attendees following this webinar. So what does that mean? Does that mean you need to panic? At this point, it doesn't. I wouldn't panic. You have about a year before you have to fully embrace the unified interface. And at the end of our webinar, after our demo, we're going to talk about different migration paths that you can use to get you to using the unified interface throughout your organization. Let's talk a few of the best features we see of the unified interface. The first thing that always is what people notice is that it's much more responsive than the older web app. I don't know what they've done, but Microsoft has succeeded in making Dynamics 365 very, very much faster than it previously was. Forms load faster, views load faster, switching from form to form or record to record is much faster, where previously you might have a 1 to 2 second break in some ways, they seem to change from record to record almost instantly. Another feature of the unified interface is something called hubs. If you look at this image we have here, at the top of the screen it says Customer Service Hub, and we'll be talking a little bit more about hubs. But what hubs allow you to do is break up the CRM interface by user jobs. So if I'm a customer service person, I would have a CRM user interface that only focused on customer service, entitlement management, knowledge base, anything related to customer service. I wouldn't necessarily have to see, as we do today in the current classic web interface, opportunities, quotes, orders, in marketing information. I would just see what I have to do. So for example, in this, I'm looking at my customer service dashboard, and I only see the information I'm looking for. Form layouts, like we talked about previously, are going to be more responsive. So depending on the size of your computer or the size of your device, you'll see forms laid out differently. We'll talk about in a few seconds timeline improvements. Timeline is one of the largest areas that was improved for Dynamics 365 in the unified interface. When we switch over to the unified interface, we get one single timeline. In previous classic web interface, you would have separate areas for notes, for posts, for if you had Yammer integration, you would have a number of tabs running across the timeline. In today's unified interface, all of that has been replaced by a single control that shows all of those in an order. You can also easily create new records. So I can create an appointment or a task or a new note or a post directly from within the timeline. And I can also use filtering tools so that I can filter my timeline views. So for example, if I just want to see emails that have been sent to a customer within the last 30 days, I can click on my filters and just show me those records. So the timeline has become a lot more powerful. We can also have more control over what information we see in the timeline. So let's say in our account records, we never use emails because we don't email to account. Well, today I can hide the email activity from the timeline so that my users aren't sending emails out to account records. So filtering and sorting of the timeline, the ability to control what people see. We can also control the fields that are visible when we're looking at records in the timeline as well. A feature that was just added this past October is conversational nesting of emails. So if you use Outlook and you're sending emails back and forth to your customers, you can choose to see those emails in a nested format so that you see one email right after another, just like you do in Outlook today. So now that Outlook interface of nested emails, seeing one related email with all its related replies underneath it, that's available in your timeline. It is a personal setting, so users can turn that on or off at will. Another feature of the unified interface is interactive dashboards. This is an example of an interactive dashboard. It looks different from our classic dashboards. What's really great about these interactive dashboards is, by the term interactive, it means I can change filters. So for example, on my left hand, I'm looking at active cases. I can filter this list of open cases by any of these charts that are showing on the left. So if I just want to see my high priority cases, I would click on the high priority button here or chart here, and it would filter and just show me those 4 high priority cases. Finally, another nice feature I like is reference panels, and we'll talk what those are. Reference panels are an improvement that has been made to the subgrid experience, which allows you to have more subgrids showing data on your CRM forms with taking up less space. And we'll talk about those in a few seconds. So with that, I think we're going to go into a test drive here, and I'm going to open up my demonstration company here. So I'm going to just minimize PowerPoint, and let's get into CRM. Okay, so I'm in my unified interface version of Dynamics 365. This is the latest version, which was released by Microsoft in October of 2019. You should all have this available to you if you have made the change to the unified interface. I'm going to talk a little bit about navigating here from my homepage. It's very simple. Whereas previously, along the top of our CRM user interface, you would have had all the menu items and the tabs for customer service, marketing, sales. Now, all of our navigation is generally along the left side. So if I'm looking here, I'm in my Sales Hub. I could switch easily to my Customer Service Hub because I want to look at a case for a client of mine by clicking on Dynamics 365 and scrolling down to Customer Service Hub. When I click on Customer Service Hub, my left-hand navigation is going to change. I'm going to see just the items that I need to see in the Customer Service Hub. Along the left side, I have my home page. For me, the home page is this dashboard. I have recently used records, so I can see any recently used records I've worked with recently. And let's say I've been doing some work with ADatum Corp. Well, I can pin that record. And when I pin it, that record's going to show here under my pinned area. So that's a great place to store information about the records that you're using often. And you can unpin them when you're done working at ADatum. So let's say you had an opportunity with them and the opportunity's closed. Well, you can just remove that and it will be removed from your pinned areas. So pinning, that was available in the classic interface, but now it's right here in the top left corner of your form. Moving down the line, we see our dashboards, our activities, accounts, contacts, cases, queues, and knowledge articles. Now, as you start getting used to using the unified interface, you will have to see the titles less. You'll start to notice that this icon, which looks like a person, is a contact record. This icon that looks like a wrench is a case record. So at that point, you can actually click on this hamburger control here, and you'll end up not having to see the labels to what these records are. Now, if you hover over them, the labels will fly out. But as you get used to it, you can quickly switch from contacts, and you'll have a lot more screen space to work from. Let's go through that dashboard here, because I want to talk about interactive dashboards. I talked about them in our PowerPoint. I'm going to go to that Tier 2 dashboard here. And I'm going to show you an example of how we can use filtering on a dashboard to show more information. So I'm looking at my list of active cases here, and I just want to look at my high priority cases. So I click on the 6, and now my active case view has changed to showing me the most important 6 cases. From this list of active cases, I can click on the 3 dots here, or the ellipses, and I can do things like share this case with someone else. I can assign it to a queue. I can apply a routing rule. So previously I might have had to open this case in order to assign it or make any changes to it. Now from the line item in that dashboard, in that view, I could do different activities against that case. I could also do secondary filtering. Right now you'll see that it shows me that right now I'm filtering this dashboard by priority, but I want to show ones where they are priority, but they're of the subject of the case is maintenance. So I click on maintenance, and now I'm showing that I have currently 2 cases that are high priority that are maintenance related. And so if that's my job, to take care of that, I would then just click on those records, open them up, and I would start to do my job. So I'm going to go back to my Sales Hub right now, going from a case here. I'm going to click back on Dynamics 365, go into my Sales Hub. And so I'm in my Sales Hub here. I have my labels all hidden here because I've gotten used to this, and I know that I can go from one place to another. Our dashboards all look the same here. These dashboards, they look slightly different, but they're basically, these are the classic dashboards in Dynamics 365. So I want to go look at my account list, and I want to start looking at information about these accounts. So along the top of my screen, we see our ribbon here. This ribbon, just like in the classic interface, is very, it adapts to what we're doing. So if I click on a record here and I open up Alpine Ski, it will change the commands available to me in this ribbon. I'm going to open up an account here. I'm going to open up ADatum Corp, and I'm going to want to show you a few things that happen when I do that. So when I open up ADatum Corp, from that view, I see my account record. But let's say I want to quickly move from one account to another. Up in the upper left corner of our menus, our ribbon bar, there's a circle with an arrow inside of it. If I click on that, what happens is we get a flyout that shows me the view that I was just in. So right now I'm in ADatum. I can switch to Alpine. I can switch to Coho. I can switch to Fabricam. So this allows me to very quickly move from record to record and see information about the accounts, the contacts, the opportunities, whatever view I'm looking at. I've really started using this the more I think about it. It's a little bit, something to get used to, that it's there. Previously, we didn't have anything like that to allow you to quickly get from record to record like that. So we're in the account form here. I want to show you some details of a few of the things I talked about. One is that, as you'll see, we have our layout looks very familiar to anybody who's using Dynamics 365. I'm going to go back to my first client here. So I'm going to switch to Alpine Ski House. And I want to talk about a few of the changes that are here. First off, we have our timeline. And I'm going to show you how to add activities. So I can quickly add an activity. I can say I want to add a note. If I click add a note, it opens up the note here. And I add my text to it. And I click add note. It saved my note for me. And I see right at the top here, it says note modified by Brian Begley. It's added to the top of my list. I don't have to switch from tab to tab to see different information. I can also open my filter pane from here. And when I do that, it's going to open up our filters. Now this takes a couple seconds to load. Okay, so when I open that up, it says, these are the type of records we have in the timeline. We have one note, we have 4 posts, and we have 4 activities. I also can say what type of activities there are. There are 2 emails, there's 2 phone calls. All records are active. So there are no closed activities here. So if I just want to say, I want to see my activities, it's going to show me those 2 phone calls and 2 emails. Now I'm going to mark this phone call as complete. Okay, and that phone call is now complete. If I go back to my filter, it will show me that I can now filter the view of records in my timeline by activity status of closed. So I'm going to say I only want to show my closed activities in the timeline. So now I'm seeing that I have had 1 phone call, and that's the only record that's currently open or closed. So we can change how we sort here. We can refresh it. So right now we default by sorting newer to older. We can also say, I want to see our oldest records. And so it would sort those records by the oldest to newest. And so that's some of the improvements to the timeline. In the back end, a developer can make changes to how records are shown. They can change the fields that are shown in this view here. They can change the ability to hide records. Like, for example, I talked about earlier, I could hide emails on the account because we don't send emails to accounts. We've used this for some of our clients where we've created a custom activity. We have one client that we created a demo record for. So they had an activity called a demo. They only wanted that activity to be visible in an opportunity. So what we did was we set the timelines to not show the ability to create a demo from the account, from the contact, from the lead, from the case. It was only available in the opportunity entity. So that gets very powerful, gets very useful to be able to prevent people from creating activities in the wrong entity. Next thing I want to show you is the thing called a reference panel. Reference panels are, if you look over on the right side of the screen, you'll see related records. So I say contacts. What we have is a panel here on the right. If you notice, there's a couple of icons. The first one is contacts. If I switch down to the second icon, it's going to show me opportunities for this customer. If I switch down to the next one, it's going to show me cases for this customer. And if I switch even further down, it's going to bring me to any entitlements if we have a service contract with the customer. These are configurable by your system administrator. So if you don't use entitlements, if there's another entity that you would want to put into this reference panel, you can add that as well. Now from this reference panel, you can do a number of things. I can go here and I can click on that record and I can see more information. So for example, I can now see Patrick Sand's job title, his phone number, and from here I can click on the phone and I could create a phone call if we're integrated with our phone system. I could also, from this subgrid, just like in classic CRM, I can create new records. So I can create a new contact, I can run reports, I can do everything I was always able to do. But instead of having a menu that ran across the top of our subgrid, now it exists in these ellipses. So creating a new contact is going to take advantage of the quick create experience. So actually here's a new feature I completely should have thought about. But in Dynamics 365 today, your users can begin scanning business cards. This becomes especially useful when you're using a mobile device and you're at a trade show. You can open up a contact or open up a lead form, a quick create lead form from your phone, and begin scanning a business card. It takes about 10 to 15 seconds for the device to take that scan and create a lead or a contact from it, but it's pretty accurate in terms of putting the fields in the right places. So I've done some testing of it recently and it seems to work really well. So scanning business cards, that's actually a feature only available in the unified interface. It's available on your desktop and it's also available on your mobile. If you've tried to scan a business card from your desktop, it will ask you to upload a picture. But if you use your mobile device, it will ask to use your camera and it will start taking a pic, and you can, using your camera, take a picture of that business card. So that's reference panels. Once again, those are easily customizable to fit your needs. Another change in the form record is that instead of having an endless form that goes from tab to tab, now our tabs are located across the top of the record. Makes navigating a lot easier because you always know where you're at. Right now I'm in the summary tab. So this summary tab, it just has information about the account, their address, their timeline, and the reference panels. I can switch to the details tab, and that takes me to more information, more detailed information about that customer, and I can start loading that up there. Okay. I'm gonna just talk about a couple more things before we just wrap this up here. Feel free to ask any questions that you might have in our question box, but that fundamentally is how to use the unified interface. Now I'm gonna bring up my mobile device because what I wanna show is how this works on a mobile device. So give me a few seconds here. Okay. So I'm going to bring up Dynamics 365. So here I am in my Dynamics 365 mobile app. And what I want to just show is, as you might remember, this is how my sales activity dashboard looks in the unified interface. We have the same exact information showing on our mobile device. It's very easy to use. It works exactly like our current one. I'm going to click on a bar, for example, or I can do further in review of the data on my dashboards. I could view the records here. I can open up my opportunity and I can make some quick changes. But these forms are laid out exactly as they are in the regular web interface. Now, just to let you know, we're going to be having a webinar probably about December 15th of 2019 on using the Dynamics 365 mobile client. So we'll make sure everybody who attends today gets an invitation to that. But this is what we're showing here is the true benefit of the unified interface, is that the same case form or same opportunity form that I use in my web device is going to look exactly the same as it does on my mobile. Mobile has one advantage over the web application, which is that you can take the mobile app and you can work it online. So that's the mobile app for Dynamics 365 using the unified interface. The final thing I want to show you is if you haven't switched to the new Outlook interface, I'm going to make a quick switch here. And I do want to show you that if you haven't switched to the unified interface and you haven't switched to the new mobile, but you're using Dynamics 365, you're actually using the unified interface. There's a hub called the Dynamics 365 for Outlook hub, where you actually have the same information. So I can go here, look at my dashboards. I can open up Deborah's contact information in Dynamics 365 here, and it's the same forms that we have for a contact in Dynamics 365 laid out exactly the same with the timeline and with all that information, but all available in my Outlook. So in some ways, if you're a salesperson, this might be the only interface you use for Dynamics 365, because you could be working your opportunities, you could be working your leads, you could be tracking emails from customers to accounts, contacts, opportunities, all from within the Dynamics 365 web application that exists within Microsoft Outlook today. So with that, I've kind of walked through everything I wanted to talk to today. I think I've taken a few more minutes than I wanted to. I want to just switch back real quick to my PowerPoint here. And we're going to switch to the last slide here. So we're going to say from this slide here, talk about how nCloud 9 can help you out to transition to the unified interface. We've helped about a dozen clients so far to migrate over the last few months into the unified interface. For some, it's simple. For some, it's a little bit more complex. The more complex your CRM is, the more complex the migration is going to be. What we've done for a few of our clients is our migration was to move one team of users. So for example, we had customer service people who had a very simple version of Dynamics 365. They used it for mostly case management. We built the customer service hub for them. We got that team working using Dynamics 365 user interface. And once they were successfully using it, we started using some of the feedback from those customer service users as we planned the migration of the sales team to begin using that. So usually the first hub that you create, the first unified service interface hub that you create is going to be the most time consuming to build. Once you get that done, it's a matter of using the feedback you received from your users to build a better second one for your other users as needed. So at nCloud 9 and Dynamics 365 support, you can get a hold of us to help you plan and roll out your unified interface migration plan. We can do all the work for you and train your users and make sure that they have the best experience. Feel free to get a hold of us at any of these numbers at 844-264-0729 or contact sales@ncloud9.com. You can always get a hold of me at bbegley@ncloud9, and we'll be there to help you as you begin your migration path. So I'm just going to look here and see if there's any questions here. Looks like we don't have any questions. If you do have any questions, you can put them into the question box, and we'll just hang out for a few moments while anybody who has any questions, feel free to put them out there. Otherwise, you can always email me at bbegley@ncloud9.com, and we will get back to you with our best answers for you. So I'm not seeing any questions, so I hope I provided some very good information for you, and I thank you very much for your time today. Have a good day. Goodbye.